Well, I was born in Chatham, New Brunswick, and we're living in Fredericton right now. Have been for a little over 30 years. But I'm a Miramichier, and I always will be. My earliest memory, well, first of all, I'm an only child, and I was supposed to be a boy. Most fathers wanted a son. So I tagged along with my dad everywhere, and he was a great outdoorsman. Hunting and fishing was his love. And so I became involved very, way below school age, I'd say, and enjoyed every minute of it. And I still do. And I encourage all our children, as well as all the other children, parents that I might speak to. Very relaxed way of life. Very caring. And you're very anxious to help people, be hospitable. I'd say friendly, be outgoing. The way of Miramichi life is an expression they say today, very laid back. Carefree, hospitable, willing to help people and help them in anything they want to know, and especially about fishing, or where to fish, the best spots, the best time of the day, and what to take when you go out in the wilderness. And it's living with nature is what I'd say. And you've got to really like that lifestyle to enjoy it, knowing what to take with you when you're going to the camps. Just being yourself. And remember the golden rule. Do unto others what you'd like to have done to yourself. And have some fun. And tell stories. And you know how to cook. You have to know how to cook up a good meal. I think it's one of a kind. It's, you have to live here to really enjoy it. And people keep coming back that due to jobs that they go away, but they're always their hearts here. And you remember places. And there's so much to see. We have so much here in the province to offer to people. And to children. Well, people are busier. They haven't got the time because of their jobs. They haven't got the time to enjoy the lifestyle that used to be. And they still want to come back, and they still want to participate, and it's the economy that has changed things more than anything. People are being enticed away from our province for other jobs. And we do need, there's not enough industry in our province to keep the people here. We do need that. It's important to protect the Miramichi life. Well, it all involves with the children, to educate them and tell them stories and get them used to nature, get out in the woods and along the river, because that's where we're all brought up along the river. And when you mention the Miramichi, first thing people think of is salmon. And that's what we want to, that's what we see are missing right now. But with the scientists and the different associations and the government, we're putting a lot of money into recovering the population that used to be. So that's what'll make us want to come back. Oh, it's very, very important. Just like I said, you mentioned New Brunswick, in the Miramichi River especially, the northwest, southwest, we think of salmon. It's our way of life. Well, without the salmon anglers, again, it's economy, because we depend on fishermen coming, and it provides so much employment. There's guides, there's cooks, there's carpenters, and everything what has to be repaired, whether it's mechanical or otherwise. So, and that's all to do with coming to the rivers, to their camps and to the lodges. Oh, it's terrible. You know, it's really affected people wanting to spend the money to come to fish. When, you know, their chances of catching them like it used to be has really gone down. I know they've really been depleted over the last 40 years. It's quite a drop. Tourism, very important. The Americans come here, and because they have an interest. Some people own property lodges here, and they bring their families, and they talk about us, you know, wherever they're from, and we depend on them coming back year after year. But we notice that with their families are sort of losing interest, which is unfortunate. Again, because the economy again is faced with that. I think there should be more advertisement. I saw one coming over. Well, first one, I've always seen Irving signs up, but now this one shows the salmon. It's a big one. This is you're coming into Doketown. Yes, because that affects everything, like restaurants and restaurants mean workers, and it affects the farming. It's all tied in to the economy. Well, they've heard so much talk about the Miramichi that they really want to know everything about it, especially the people. And I find that you might get people like from way up in different companies, but when they come and put on their waders and whatever, get out on the river, they're just as common as their guides. And this is what they want to enjoy and sort of taste. And they get, and especially if they catch a fish, or even see one, or listen to the stories, that gets them interested, and they can't wait to come back. Bear hunting, deer, partridge, and of course, the moose season even, but that's pretty much restricted to New Brunswick. They can, if they're a non-resident, they can still participate. But no, it's quite a life, and it's year-round. Not only do we have that, but we have in the wintertime, there's so many things to do. There's skidoo trails all around, and there's ice fishing, certain areas. It's gaining in popularity. Well, in order to get more fish, I know you haven't come to that question yet, but is to disband the commercial fishing until the salmon supply become more populated again, as it used to be. Get away from that. And also, there's the result of the striped bass and so on. But mostly, I think the commercial fishing is the one that should be targeted. Well, the river changes every year. It all depends on the weather. The pools change. Like a lot of people spend a lot of money cleaning out pools and that, but you know, that could change the next year. So it's like this year's been the worst year in centuries, I'd say. It's the water's been so low due to lack of rain. So that's a big drawback right now is, for people to fish, because there just isn't any water. It's not the right depths and so on to encourage fish. So it's unfortunate. Oh, it's just not the same. It's changed considerably. There's less fish than it used to be. One time you dropped the line and you were sure to get one. Now you have to struggle. Yeah. I don't think there was any limit those days. One time you could keep one, but not now. Which I agree with. The main threat is the commercial fishing over in Greenland. And of course, right now, here it's the striped bass and the mergansers. Striped bass, I think, is more so than mergansers. But I know, but the only way to eliminate that is to, through the work of the salmon associations, the government, and the people themselves, to help and to educate, and especially education is a big thing today, both for the anglers as well as the younger people coming on board. I see them coming back if those things were observed. If they, you know, they can still do commercial fishing after a certain length of time when they see that the salmon are increasing. When they can, there's many scientists and they're spending a lot of money on doing research for the salmon to come back, and they will come back. Some of the older folks say, oftentimes about partridge hunting, they'll say, oh, well, there's no partridge, and they say that partridge go through a cycle, life cycle. You know, if 7 years there's a change, maybe this is what's happening with the salmon, because I enjoy what I'm doing. I love the outdoors, hunting, fishing, you name it. Call the wild. The Miramichi way of life, there's only one way, and that's the Miramichi way. And I think you're going to enjoy it. It's the people. It's the people that make the Miramichi way of life. And they're always so willing to help, no matter, like I said, if you're head of a big corporation or if you're a flagman on the highway. You know, they're all willing to help. And I mean really help, you know, like they go out of their way to show you and help you. No problem at all. And just thank you very much, and that they're willing to accept that. That's what that's what stemmed from years of being brought up in the Miramichi, because that's the way it is. They think nothing of it. It's just the way it goes. Well, you know what? I looked at that question, and I've enjoyed it, every one of them, from the guides to the cooks to the politicians to professionals. You know, there's no one particular person that I would point out. People from the Americans that own camps here from California and so on, and I have clients from Europe and the Americans mostly. But like I say, it's from the little man to the big man, they're all important to me. And they're wonderful people. I enjoy them and they enjoy me. What's one thing about fishing, you never know who you're going to run into. And that's, it's interesting, like say, are you from away? That's an expression here. Oh, he's from away, yeah. But you find out a little bit about them, and there's always something in common. And of course, the main thing is, if you're fishing, it's all about fishing. If you're hunting, it's all about hunting. But you meet all walks of life, from artists to scientists, to doctors, to vets, and people doing research, people involved in the association, and in politics. So it's interesting, there's a cross mix everywhere. It's all about people. Well, one exciting experience for myself as well as my husband-to-be was fishing on the Savolga River, trying to land I guess it was around 15-pound salmon. And it's pretty rocky where we were. I didn't know if the salmon was going to get me or I was going to get the salmon. But anyway, that was very thrilling. I never forgot that. Wow, it's exciting. And you tug on the line and you give a little more line and so on, and you work it in. It's thrilling. It's just you can't express the thrill. And especially then once you get them pretty well played out and try to get them in, that's another thrill too. But no, it's wonderful. Just takes that one catch and you're hooked. The first salmon, lots of trout, but yes, it was over in Brady Bog River. And there was a spot there, Egan's Pool. There was a pool there, they still called it Egan's Pool. And it's mostly for trout, but there was a hook to salmon. And that was that property belonged to my grandfather, and we used to go there quite a bit, fishing in that pool, that particular pool. But that was the thrill. I'll say, mister, you haven't lived till you live in the Miramichi. And you got to be there to take it all in and to enjoy it and enjoy the people. It's not only, but fishing is the people too. and it's just a way of life. It's very relaxed, and listening to the stories are what's get you in too. If someone asked me about where to come to fish or where to come to enjoy themselves, I'd tell them that I've been all over the world. I've fished in Alaska, Norway, Helsinki, and I said, I'll just tell them, look, I've tried them all, but to me it's the Miramichi. I grew up in Chatham, New Brunswick, a very prosperous river, the Miramichi River, and the river was our life. My dad, I was an only child and was supposed to have been a boy, so I tagged along with him everywhere. And I mean everywhere, up in the hills and down the hills and in the woods and out of the woods. And it was always to do with hunting or fishing. And I have so much to be thankful for. People say, you know, my age, well, how come I'm so well and don't look my age and so on? And I tell them I was brought up on moose meat, bear meat, deer meat, partridge, every wild thing there was, rabbit. And so it was all healthy eating. And hunting was, I really like hunting, as well as I do fishing. I probably do more hunting than fishing. But it was nothing to go myself out in the woods to hunt. And that's how I met my husband. He was sort of the boy around the corner, and we used to go hunting together. In fact, one time we got lost in the woods, and I was very embarrassed. Oh my gosh, but lost in the woods with this fellow, you know, and what are people going to say? So we got out on the highway, and we got picked up by none other than, I worked at the time at the government garage, and he was the foreman there. I didn't even introduce him to Jack. So, but anyway, then I got into fishing. My grandfather had this place in Barty Bogue. It was a farm they had bought, and that farm bordered on the Barty Bogue River, and they had an apple orchard. Well, the orchard was perfect for partridge hunting, the apples, and also for deer. And then the river was famous for the trout, as well as salmon. And one thing led to the other anyway. My husband went overseas, and when he came back, he bought a motorcycle. It was a Harley Davidson with roll bars on it. In those days, there were no springs on the motorcycles, and he taught me how to drive. So what he guessed with the motorcycle, we went down every cow path there was to fish or hunt. I'd have the motorcycle, the barrel of the number 12 shotgun down my leg, and the stock across my back in a tunic. And I'd come back all filled out with partridge in the front. And those were the days. And then we enjoyed that motorcycle so much that I wanted to go on our honeymoon with it. But Jack, no, he didn't want to do that. He wanted me to experience a trip on an airplane. So we went to Moncton, that was the closest city, and we took the flight over to PEI, and I thought I was in heaven with the clouds, and landed. So then, with the children coming, I still was busy working all the time. I was very fortunate that way. Those days, when you got married, you stayed home and brought up family and did the cooking. But I was interested in working too, so I carried on with my work. I worked at the courthouse in Newcastle and became very familiar with deeds and wills and so on, and became deputy registrar of deeds and wills. And then went on from there to over to my husband was with the Power Commission. He traveled all over New Brunswick, and he was transferred to Fredericton for a year's tour duty. But it ended up we stayed there because by this time our oldest girl was going to university. And in the meantime we had 5 children, 4 boys and 1 girl, and they all can shoot, hunt and fish. Our daughter shot a moose, and that was the days when you didn't have to put in for a license other than the season. But the boys are all great hunters and fishermen. And that's what's so important today, to educate the children. And I strongly believe that there should be more time spent in school on educating about nature and about hunting and fishing, that particular sport, rather than the computers and those games that they play. And now they're saying that even the sports like hockey, that isn't safe anymore with so much concussion and all that. And it's not as safe as it used to be. But there again, you've got the opportunity to nature. There's where your time should be spent. You learn so much. You learn about people, you learn about the beauty of your province, and you learn about people. Everything's about people, whether it's your work or whether it's your fun. It's people. And there's all walks of life that you're talking to. And if you're good to them, remember the golden rule and that, you'll get along well. And just stay in the right crowd. And that's another thing. People should, with children growing up, keep an eye on what friends they're keeping and try to steer them in the right direction. I want to tell you about a very interesting part of our life. My husband was transferred from Chatham to Bathurst. Bathurst Power sold out to NB Power, so he was sent up to take over the operation there and run it. And we used to go back and forth with the children to Chatham. And then getting back to Barty Bogue again, my father had a 100-acre woodlot, and he had somebody cut the wood, and what was left was, we decided that we were going to build a house. So Jack took his holidays, and we went to settle in Barty Bogue in a tent to cut enough wood to build a house, a 2-story house, which we did. But to cut this wood, we had to go where the loggers, they took the easy cut, and we'd have to go in and out around and what was left. But we cut enough, and my father had a truck. So and my son, oldest boy, John, was school age, and he slept in the tent with us, and he was our water boy. Now my husband used a chainsaw. Years ago, they didn't have a safety, and it was very heavy. My job was a limbing. So I used to limb. He'd cut them down, and I'd limb them. That's what I could. I don't know how many axe handles I broke. But anyway, and John would be the water boy. And then in the evening, his father and my father would come down and help us as well. And I had a 38 Smith & Wesson revolver. My father had a .45 revolver, Smith & Wesson, and we used to target practice at night. You know, these revolvers. Of course, this was way in the deep woods. You couldn't even hear it out in the. I don't know if we broke the law or not, but anyway, it was just sport. So that was fun, and we cooked outdoors and that. But anyway, so when we had the logs pretty well, we had to hire a horse and twitch these logs from here, there, and everywhere to one spot in order for them to come with the truck. The 3-ton truck, I think it was to parbuckle them up onto the back of the truck. Now, people don't know what parbuckle means or what twitching means. Do you boys know? No. Parbuckle, you make a ramp to the 2 logs, and you roll them up onto the back of the truck. So that's what they call parbuckle. So anyway, then we had to haul them to the mill, which was in Black River. And then it's best to take them there, and then you have to let them dry. They plane them and dry. It's best to leave them for 2 years to dry by right. But anyway, we cut enough boards and that to build a 2-story house, beautiful home in Chatham. And when we left, we rented it for a while. Oh, by the way, my grandfather was a dentist, and I have 3 uncles dentists, and I always wanted one of our boys to be a dentist. So when we bought the lot, it was quite large, quite deep, so that plans were to have a clinic in the back of the lot. Surely one of the boys would be, but They're all turned into engineers instead, which is similar, I guess, dentistry and engineering. But anyway, the banker said we kissed every board to build that house. And my husband did a lot of the finish work inside. We hired a contractor. And when we left Fredericton, we rented it for a while, and that didn't work out, and we sold it to a judge. And anyway, it was a beautiful home, and every time I'm over, I take a run by to see how they're looking after it. In that tent, we were there, well, every weekend, and then the 2 weeks holidays at Jacket, so it was almost, I'd say about a month and a half or more. It was great with our fathers coming to help at night, too. That was really something. And the black flies, I used to wear a white man's shirt. Well, that shirt was polka dot red with the flies. The flies were some bad. That was in the summer holidays. Twitching means you hook on the chain on the end of a log, and you have the horse. And the horse hauls out the log one at a time, then to the site where you pile them. Then you parbuckle them. The truck's there, and you parbuckle it up. So there's 2 new words you learned. And you used to have to go from place to place. You didn't just stop in one place to get a log. You had to go, because it had been cut before, you see. I fished out in Alaska, caught 5 salmon out there, but that's a different type of salmon fishing. You know, you just drop the line, and we brought them on the dock, and the fellow said, "Now what are you going to do?" And I said, "Well, what can we do?" Well, he said, "You can can them, and we'll ship them back, but he said, we'd recommend we smoke them first, then can them." So I said, okay. So when we got the order delivered to New Brunswick, they had there were cans about this size, and they had the map of Alaska on them, and they made wonderful Christmas gifts with the map of Alaska on them. Oh, boys, you get me a fiddle, and I'm right up there. I can't sit still. My father played the violin, and so did my mother. My father was in an orchestra, and he used to play it behind his head and under his, like this. And my mother, she took Halifax Ladies College where she learned to play. They put me through piano lessons. So they spent a lot of money, but I didn't practice enough. So I can play I Love Coffee, I Love Tea now, and that's it. But I like to come to the Miramichi, especially these icebreaker dinners. And there's an old fellow, I think he's older than me. As soon as they start up that fiddle, up he gets, and his wife comes and gets me to join him. And the two of us make a noise on the floor, you know, not for very long. But there's nothing like a violin. It's, and one of our boys got in, sent him down to Mount Allison to take lessons with my mother's violin. Anyway, and he was going through our park in Chatham. He had it across the handlebars. And he ran into a tree, and that ended the violin lessons. So I got him into the Scottish bagpipes. There's another fellow got into that. Well, that didn't last too long neither. So anyway, and I'm right down to a harmonica now. I'm taking harmonica lessons. And I play a little bit with the late Lorne Swayze and Harry Bond. Make a noise. Nobody knows if I'm on key or not, but anyway, just going through the motion. And I go up like this way too. One time it fell off, I lost it. But it's all in fun. It's the way of life. Music is the way of life too, because that's how the people get together in the small communities. You know, just little kitchen parties or house parties. That's how they meet and chew the fat. Or jaw a little bit, another way expression. So, but you know, like you can't help but like it. But it's just people getting together, sharing their talents. And some of them go professional if they're really good, you know. Well, first of all, we have 4 seasons here. And the most colorful one, of course, is in the fall. And the relaxing one is the fishing season. And that's one thing with the 4 seasons. It gives you an opportunity to do any kind of a sport you're interested in. Well, you're just going to be a different person when you're on the river. There's something about the river. It's very calming, and it tones you right down, like, you know, it's soothing. Your troubles are gone, and the sound of the reel, if you have one on, that brings you back to life. Not uncommon to see bears, but I've had an encounter with a mother and 3 cubs 2 years ago. That was scary. And deer, you know. And of course muskrat. You see a variety. Raccoons. My favorite spot in the Miramichi is any number of the camps. I've been to a lot of the camps. That's one of the beauty in it. By going to the salmon dinners, you have an opportunity to bid on these camps. And my work, it's important that I do, so I get to know the people and the camps and so on. So there's Larry's Gulch. I've been there 3 times. And that's a favorite spot. Costly one, but it's worth it. One time, I must tell you, but here's a story now. There's a shop in Fredericton on Queen Street, and they sold various items for tourists and that. And I bought this cushion. It was this long. It was the size of a grilt, and it was a fish. And you'd swear it was a real fish. So I took that up to Larry's Gulch with me. And the time I was there, nobody caught any fish. And if you've ever been there, like it's like a room, and a veranda, and so on. Each one had their own room. So everyone was pretty upset they didn't get something. I said, well, I did. I got one. You did? Yes. And I said, I can prove it. So I went and got this cushion and brought it out. Well, sir, what? They had a great laugh. But everyone had it, borrowed from it to have the picture taken. Because if you take that cushion and move it out far like this, you'd swear it was a grill. So I was always doing something like that. Well, I don't know if you people realize how important this river is. It's world famous, really is. And when they think of that, the worst word they think of is salmon. Not only the Miramichi River, but the salmon. That's what they think of. So that's why we should educate the children about fishing and about how important this river is, and also the sport, and to conserve it. You've got to educate them to conserve it. And like I say, with all this money spent for research, the organizations and the camps and the beauty, we can't advertise it enough. They just can't. I think Miramichi River is very, very important to the world, not only to Canada, but to the world. So there's no other life like the Miramichi. That's right. I want you all to know that. But the thing is, I think there should be more money spent on schools and educating the children that particular sport, nature, whether it's hunting or fishing. Because, like I say, they're talking about the hockey, you know, it's a rough sport, and football and all that, and all these things happening, or may not happen right away, but later on in their lives. But that's where they should, and they need the kind of teachers they need. They don't need somebody that's never been on the river to teach it, and that's what's happening. They need the people from the Miramichi themselves that have experienced, the guides, and even the cooks and all that. And that's what the young people want to hear and see. And that first catch, that's a great program they've started out. I'm really happy about that. And there's another one, was it Charm or something? There's another program that it's to do with all the organizations that they're getting together. But there should be more advertisements. That's the secret right there. It's education. And I would love to be a part of it.